Hi, my name is Andrew Woodruff, and I'm interviewing John Ellison, an entrepreneur from Denver, Colorado. John started his own custom clothing company in 2008, and since its inception, it's grown wildly. And we're just going to today have a conversation about his experience as a young entrepreneur and advice that he could maybe give other people who are starting out their own businesses. So thank you for talking with us, John.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
First off, why are you doing what you do?
Well, pretty much it started at the end of my junior year. I was kind of bored with school.
Junior year of high school?
Yeah, of high school. And I saw a video online about painting shoes, thought it was interesting, and one thing led to the next. I saw an eBay listing full of like 16 blank shoes, and I wondered, why would someone want that many shoes? And then I kind of thought like, oh, I could paint these, resell all of them, and make, a pretty good markup. And so the first pair of shoes I did, I was wearing them at a mall, and some guy stopped me and was like, hey, how much for those shoes? I was like, what do you mean? He was like, I'll give you $200 for those shoes on your feet. And I was like, what? But he had size 11 feet, and that was kind of like the start of everything, really, just getting me going.
So when you started, it was more for your own just art, for the sake of making shoes, or?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't.
You said you wanted to resell them, but
right.
You didn't have like a grand scheme of like starting a business or anything?
No, not even. It was just I wanted a pair of shoes for myself to wear because the stuff in the stores just really wasn't that unique. It just looked like everybody else's feet, and I wanted something new, something that I could like be proud of.
So that was kind of the start. What were the next steps that you did to actually creating business?
Basically what happened was I started making a couple shoes for people, and I was just doing it in my room in my house, and it was kind of difficult to separate personal from business life, whether it's parents wanting you to do chores or friends calling your cell phone. It's pretty hard to be diligent and disciplined on, actually producing shoes. But the next step was the airbrushing, which, cuts the time in half or in quarter. Basically, it's just a much easier and efficient way of spreading paint across a shoe, and it kind of like just grew from that to that. And then winter dance last year, I made some t-shirts for a group of kids, the group we were going in, and it just thing upon thing just kept growing, and it's become something I could never even imagine.
Was there a specific turning point where you felt that this was transitioning from something that was more of like a hobby or something you wanted to do to when you got, you said to yourself like, okay, I have to get serious and start to really, like get diligent, as you said, about what I'm doing?
Yeah, and actually last semester I was going to school at Loyola, and I decided just kind of spur of the moment sort of thing. It was the last day I could have done it to take a semester off. It was December 4th, I believe. And I just, I've been watching news and reading up a lot and doing a lot of research on this whole war in the Middle East and, Iraq, Iran, Russia, Israel, just this whole conflict. It's almost like a World War III plus Crusades plus Cold War. It's just like every conflict in the history of human existence intertwined into one. And I strongly believe that the human race is dwindling down and it's time left on this earth, and so I want to make a difference, and I want to show people what you can do with your mind and with your hands and with time. Everybody wastes time. I feel like they're just running away from reality and escaping and just not doing what they could do with their hands and their mind. It's pathetic.
Yeah, because it says on your website that the just in Just Custom stands for justice.
Right.
And then it also says in your mission statement that you're dedicated to serving the needs of humanity. How does those social and political, aspirations that you have tie in with what you're actually doing?
Well, basically, the first real shirt that we started as, a Just shirt, that's what it's called on the site, is called Fill in the Cracks, and it was supposed to be a fundraiser for Haiti because of the devastation that country had endured. And I'm doing a statistical analysis of the earthquakes in the past 20 years, and I think they're going to happen more often, and I think there's going to be more natural disasters, and people need help. And if I can produce t-shirts and donate all the proceeds to a cause and even get a team down there, a Just Customs team, to save somebody's life, then it's worth it. Everything's worth it if it's, change one person or save one person's life.
So for you, you're a bit like the entrepreneurship business and social entrepreneurship are kind of one and the same.
Yeah, I'm trying to combine them, and I mean, it's hard because of the capital it takes, and everything is harder than it seems. My dad's a business owner, and that's what he taught me. It's just, you can't even imagine. It's an idea starts, and each step is so much harder than you can imagine. And you know, you can't do it all, but you have to do what you do right. And I feel like that's something that takes a lot of time to learn, and I'm still learning it. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not an expert. I'm 19 years old and running a business. You know, I'm
Yeah.
figuring it out as I go.
Can you talk about that? How, as your business has grown, there's obviously growth presents new challenges, and
Right.
as you said, you're still dealing with those. Like, what kind of challenges have you faced? Because I remember you saying before we started filming that since you've taken this semester off, you've learned much more than you've learned in the 2 years prior that you were doing this, just because you were focused, and this was actually the time that you had to dedicate to doing it.
In all of school, really, I've learned more from my business than all of my education, which is kind of pathetic to say, but it's, I mean, for example, I came down to New Orleans for Mardi Gras for the Super Bowl, and I have these Houdat shirts that I was trying to get and sell on the streets of New Orleans on St. Charles, and the shirt company shipped the printing company the wrong shirts, got delayed about 9 to 10 days, and now I'm sitting with a batch of 325 Houdat shirts, and I've got to find outlets and angles to sell to people, and it's, you know, it's a struggle.
2 weeks past the Super Bowl,
right?
Which is hard.
Exactly, you know. So, kind of the ideal window of opportunity has passed, but I'm gonna get a booth at Jazz Fest and try to sell shirts there and just figure out whatever angles and outlets to get shirts out and into people's hands.
So what is your experience with marketing your products? Because it seems like a lot of it is just having people wear them and then kind of growing. Because when you went here last semester, you're always wearing your shirts, and then you know, that's how I found out. Like basically found out about your business, like because of your T-shirts and how awesome they were.
Well, first it started with just the simple 303 logo, and in Colorado there's a lot of state and local pride about where they're from, and it's the area code 303. And I would just kind of give them to my friends with a batch of business cards and just get shirts on people, on girls, on all the friends that I know, and walk around concerts, basically. Like, it's kind of intertwined with the music scene because people are just trying to have a good time and socialize and communicate. And so we pass out a business card and, you know, tell them what we're about, and if they're interested, then they come to the site. And that's how it started. That was like the initial marketing phase, and now I'm venturing into sort of a different promotion scale where I'm hooking up professional artists like Pretty Lights and Dubskin. There's some artists on the website, and I actually met them down here in New Orleans.
And they've worn your shirts on stage.
Yeah, Dubskin's a pretty big reggae band, worn it on stage, and then March 9th through the 13th are 5 sold-out shows in Denver, and Pretty Lights is going to be wearing Just Customs apparel, shoes, and shirts, and so yeah, it's a great opportunity.
So you met them at one of the Pretty Lights concert down in New Orleans?
Yeah, the House of Blues concert, November 7th. Corey Eberhard, the drummer, was standing outside, and I walked up to him, and I didn't even say anything to him, and he was talking to a bunch of girls. He looked at my shirt, and he goes, 303 shirt, where'd you get that? And, you know, I was extremely elated, excited, but I calmly, you know, asked him for his email, told him I'd hook him up with some free stuff, and then the next night, he was at the same concert I was at, and I was in the bathroom, he came up to me, he was like, 303 guy, what's up, man? And I ended up hanging out with him down on Frenchman that night, and it just kind of clicks. It's really interesting.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's like a parallel between the guy in the mall who first saw your shoes and then hooking up with professional artists.
Yeah,
it's really exciting. Yeah,
I'm psyched about it. But yeah, it's more than just clothing, really. It's kind of a message I'm trying to portray. The company motto that's soon to be up is create, love, and light. And I feel like that's a pretty good message that can spread across all genders and societies and cultures and religions. I feel like people are too separated nowadays. There's a left and a right. There's a Republican, a Democrat, a blue, a red, a Christian, a Jew. Like, I'm not for that segregation of men because I feel it just is negative, and throughout the history of the existence, it's done nothing but create violence and turbulence and tribulation for mankind and its fellows.
What's your vision for where you want to be and where you want your company to be in 5 years?
Well, basically, I'm taking it one day at a time, but actually probably going to be moving to Israel.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Like I said, I mean, really, all of this Just Customs stuff is so that I can fund the money and have time to travel the world and finish this book that I'm writing.
Okay.
So Just Customs is kind of a front. I mean, spraying T-shirts and making stencils is really not what I'd like to be doing every day. It's not ideal. But the book is called Light Pollution, and it's a story of 7 different people scattered across the world as they view the events leading up to and concluding the end of the world. And there's the side of light and the side of darkness, just like in every epic, you know, whether it be Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or Chronicles of Narnia. Or Star Wars, yeah, you can go down the list. I mean, the top blockbusters of all time have the same exact thing. It's this epic battle of good and evil, and one man has the choice, the decision to save it or to let it go. You know, the human race is teetering on the brink, and you know, it's a good story, and I feel like that's what I was born for, is to write this book and to spread this message.
Kind of related. A lot of people who are fusing art and business almost talk about things in the same terms, where it's like art, especially musicians who end up getting reeled into the music industry. It's kind of like the art is the pure, the light, and this is what, you know, you're trying to portray. This is what will save the world. Well, the business side, the money, is really this like dark kind of, you know, greedy industry. And where do you, in your experiences, you know, with your company, which is dealing with artistic designs, how do you feel like those two merge? What's the relationship to you between art and business?
I think it's definitely an important one, but for me, I'm trying to rid myself of greed and all those negative traits, but it is really about the art. Is, you know, that's what separates Just Customs from other apparel companies. Is it's unique, it's one of a kind, it's hand airbrushed, it's got 6, 7, 8 colors with shading and tones, and you know, you can't buy that in a store. And it's taking someone's art and just letting them go, just taking all the harnesses, all the blinders off that I feel a lot of public institutions inhibit artists with. You know, they're telling them to do a certain thing, to be a certain way, and I just want, you know, I've got 2 artists right now signed to the team, and I'm looking for more all the time. You know, it's kind of like the Ed Hardy concept of French designer took someone's tattoo art and made hundreds of millions of dollars off of it, but it's repetitive, it's bland, it's, you know, the same demographic over and over again. But for me, it's like, I want to get artists from everywhere, from Denver, from New Orleans, from Seattle, from New York, from everywhere across the world, and just let them go. And if they have a piece that I like enough to invest in creating 500 of them, then it's going to happen. And it's just a matter of time that, you know, it really takes off the ground and does good things for people, I think.
Well, how does that ideology of, you know, having art come first when you come up against walls where you have to, you know, talk with other business people? Like, you know, I know a lot of your stuff is online. Like, you've got awesome business cards. Like, having to get those printed up and having to get, you know, like you said, ordering the T-shirts and like dealing with everything. Some of these things are just straight like business. Like the other person's looking to make money just as much as you are. How do you, you know, let your ideology dictate you doing that in a fair way?
I mean, it's difficult. I'm still learning, and that's what it comes down to. Like, kids, if I was at Loyola right now, I'd be taking a business communications class, and that's kind of part of it, is how you communicate with other professionals and how you represent the ideas in the art. But I mean, on a big scale, it's kind of hard to get respect as a 19-year-old business owner. But when it comes down to selling shirts to people that know me, that don't know me, it's about the art, you know. And I'm not trying to gouge anybody or make some huge markups. I spend 12 to 20 man hours on a shirt that sells for $40. I mean, that's so much sweat equity. That's hardly minimum wage, not even close. You know, that's like $2 an hour for whoever's working if there's 2 men. And so I just really try to push the artistic integrity of individuals and hopefully spread the word, spread the light.
I guess my last question would be, what advice do you have for other people who want to start their own business or other young entrepreneurs?
Basically just to take an idea and go with it. I mean, I'm doing a second...
Any idea, or like you have to be passionate about it?
Yeah,
or?
Passion. That's. I'm glad you brought that up. Find what you're passionate about and do it. If it's music, then do it. Find a way to do it and do it right. Don't go halfway, don't go the third of the way. And a lot of the times it's fear that inhibits an individual from doing what they truly believe in, whether they fear if their parents will get angry, if society won't accept it, or
if they'll fail.
If they'll fail. A failure, it happens. Everybody fails. You've got to fail to learn. It's about the mistakes that you make. I mean, I could take my trip and say that it was a failure and stop this company because, you know, it didn't work out the way I wanted to, but that's not how you do it. You lose, you fail, you get up and you go harder and you fight as hard as you can until you get what you want, and you can't settle for anything less.
Okay, well, great. Thanks a lot for talking with us.
Cool. Appreciate it, Andrew. Thanks for having me.
No problem. John Ellison.